Hello everyone. Now, in today's sessions, we'll be focusing on how does the Azure files work and how to create one, how the containers can be configured, and what are the configurations which are enabled available in container or a blob storage point of view. Also, అది కాకుండా we will try to also talk about access tier, storage access tiers, which is like hot, cool, cold, even based on this, we will be the billing will be defined at the way you can access frequently or frequent write, read and access బట్టి కూడా కాస్ట్ ఉంటుంది స్టోరేజ్ అకౌంట్ కి. సో టు properly utilize all these things, storage types is important. You can expect a question on what is that, or you can expect a question on what is a blob lifecycle management in certification and sometimes in the interviews. If we look at how do we create and configure a file share in Azure storage, uh, I'll go to the storage account which we have just created, and I'll go to file shares. You could see here that I have a file share. I'll create test file share. I'll just keep that as transaction optimized in general one. And the maximum data which I can store in that file share is 100 TB. So I'll go ahead and I'll click on create. I don't want to choose anything backup at this stage, so I'll just click on create. Okay. Now, if I see, I could see this file share. Now, what will we use this file share for? So I can go and connect this file share to machines. So if it's a Windows machine, you just have to go to the PowerShell and copy this and run there. And automatically, this file share will be linked to a Z drive, whichever you can see the drive letter and all that. So if it is a Linux one, you're going to run it in the terminal. With the script, you just have to copy it and paste it there. If you're doing an SSH, and you will be able to link that file share, and you can start storing files in it. If you want me to show that, I could just create that handy. Let me do it quickly. So I started creating a virtual machine. Let it get created. Meanwhile, you can see that I can create snapshots for this file here, or I can actually use backups. What is the difference between a snapshot and a backup? That point of time, if at all there are 10 files in your file share and you clicked on snapshot, those 10 files will be backed up. That's it. Now that's a snapshot which you have it on, like say that uh, 14th May. Now, backup is a continuous job. You'll create a recovery service vault, and you will create items and backup jobs, and you will go ahead and run the recovery vault. Means the recovery service vault will take care of continuously backing up the file shares, because let's say that from 10 files it has increased to 12 files and all that by the end of the day. Then the recovery service vault will have a backup job defined like every day around late night around 12 it has to do a backup. Then the 12 files will be backed up. So that's how the backup works. Snapshot is during the point of time when you're triggering the snapshot, how many files were there inside that and all that, the data will be entirely backed up. Now it depends how the organization wants to have this. If it is not a frequently need of backup and all that, you just stored some data and you just wanted to keep a snapshot of it, you can do it. Or it's a continuous data which is being stored in that file share and all that. You can even for that also you can go ahead and do the backup. Now the machine got created. Let me go inside this machine. You're logged in into the machine. What I'll do, I'll mount or I'll connect this one file share to the machine. So I'll open a PowerShell. I'll click on Run as Administrator. I'll close this. Now I'll just run this. If you actually see there is a storage endpoint. Uh, this is the name of the storage account, and this is the file share endpoint. And here they mentioned uh, the access key, which is giving the access. Now, if you see the file share is been mounted there, I can even check from my computer. No, not from there, but this PC. And now if you see there is a file share, which is this one. I can store files in this. Okay. And so I can link that same file share to multiple machines. If you understand, I can link that same file share to multiple machines, and 1 minute. I will go ahead and browse that one, and you can see that one with the one which I've created in the VM that is getting opened. And this is created in VM, but I could actually access it from my machine. Now you can link that file share to multiple of the VMs, or you can link it to multiple applications so that the data can be accessed, written by multiple applications to the file share consistently, simultaneously, and all that, which we call in technological point of view or a software language concurrently. So that's what the file shares does, and these are the options which we have. Now coming to containers point of view, let's see how containers work. Folder one. Okay. Now if I select this, now when we create SAS keys and all that, we can even use this access policy concept here, because most of that you have seen how I could upload the folder, how I could upload a file and all that. But stored access policies is in general, when I go ahead and create SAS keys from a storage account, I would not be in a position to control that storage account uh, SAS keys much. But when I create it in container point of view, it's much more easier. I could define the policies. What will be the start date of my SAS keys? What will be the end date of my SAS keys and all that? And the ones which have been created, I could go ahead and uh, what do we say? I can go ahead and bring down the expiry to zero. I mean, to today so that I can complete manage my this one my SAS keys which I'm creating from a storage account access policies point of view. So it's good in terms. So how the question comes is, see, I'm creating SAS keys from a storage account. What is the disadvantage there? The disadvantage is if you go ahead and keep creating SAS keys, you don't have control. Like you gave 1 month to 10 SAS keys, another SAS keys you gave 1 year. Now you wanted to renew everyone's access. Now those SAS keys you can't have a control over that once you have created it. So that's a disadvantage. Now, but using you can use contain in containers point of view, you can set up access policies so that you can control when they have to be expired, when they have to be uh, active, and all this. So it's a good one. Stored access policies are the solution for that. So that is what is this about. And there are other settings which we call here change access level. Now, if I keep private no anonymous access level, what happens is, so if I upload any file into that one, for example, I uploaded a text.txt file inside it. Now, if I want to access this, this is kind of an anonymous access. How would, when I'm sending the HTTPS request to understand what is there in the blob, how will the request go? It goes as a random browser request, HTTPS request. That browser request may not be aware that I'm actually the one who's been logged in and I do have the access to view it and all that. So it considers this as an anonymous access. And I mentioned here that none of my con blobs or the folders inside this container should be having anonymous access is what I mentioned. Now, if I wanted to change that, that's where I was going into the storage account previously in the previous sessions. And in the configuration, I was changing allow blob anonymous access and I click on save. So once I was able to allow in the configurations, go and change this particular setting, and in the containers, I could go ahead and copy this, and now I paste this. Even then it does not change this because I didn't change the access level there. I'm saying that access level is, I have to refresh it so that I could go and change that. Okay, because the change setting has not been reflected out, so I have to just refresh it. Now, if I try to send this one, if you can see, I could see that created in VM message. Uh, so this is what is access level. There are three types of access levels: private, blob, and containers. Private is nothing, it not gives any anonymous access level. They no need to have access to the storage account, this thing and all that. They just need URL and all that, and they will be able to get it. And primarily everything will be in private mode. Anonymous blob, only the files and all that, or folders and kind of files also can be given. And that is it. Access policy, I've already discussed about it. SAS tokens, we have already discussed about it. These are the properties. So this is what we have in terms of a container. Now let's talk about storage access, storage TS. So why this is important, storage TS. So if I go inside that storage account, mm, I can mention here container properties. Mm, state. This is not what I wanted. So the blob access tier, by default, you wanted to keep it hot or cool or cold. So there are three types of access tiers, and that's where you will be asked what are the access tiers which are available in storage account. Now, what does hot do? What does cold do? And what does the cool do? అండర్స్టాండ్ హౌ స్టోరేజ్ అకౌంట్ ఎలా యూజ్ చేస్తారనేది అర్థం కావాలి. యాక్సెస్ టియర్ ఎందుకు వచ్చింది అసలు కాన్సెప్ట్ అనేది, ఎందుకు ఎజ్యూర్ ఇన్వాల్వ్ చేసింది ఆ పర్టికులర్ ఫీచర్ అనేది. యూ కెన్ ఐదర్ స్టోర్ ద డేటా ఇన్ ఇట్ ఆర్ రైట్ ద డేటా ఇన్ ఇట్. ఓకే, రీడ్ చేసుకుంటున్నప్పుడైనా రైట్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడైనా స్టోరేజ్ అకౌంట్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలోంచి ఓకే ఎంత ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ గా యూజ్ చేస్తున్నావు డేటా అనేది కూడా వస్తుంది. ఇప్పుడు సేమ్ ఫైల్ అనేది నువ్వు డేకి ఒక 1000 టైమ్స్ నువ్వు రీడ్ చేస్తున్నావు, లేదా 20,000 టైమ్స్ దేర్ ఇస్ అ రీడ్ విచ్ ఇస్ హ్యాపెనింగ్ టు యూ దట్ పర్టికులర్ ఫోల్డర్ ఆర్ ఫైల్ వాట్ ఎవర్ ఇట్ ఇస్. Now that one, based on that, the cost will change. సో టూ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ కాస్ట్ ఇంపాక్ట్ ఉంటుంది. ఒకటి ఏంది అని అంటే ఎంత ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ గా రీడ్ అండ్ రైట్ యాక్సెస్ చేసుకుంటున్నాం. ఇన్ సింపుల్ దే విల్ కాల్ దట్ as ఐఓ ఆపరేషన్స్. ఓకే, ఎంత ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ గా ఆ, ఎంత అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ డేటా స్టోర్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఓకే, సో ఈ టూ ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ మీద నీ ప్రైస్ డిపెండ్ అయి ఉంటుంది. సో హాట్ సేస్ దట్ ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ మోర్ ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ రీడ్ అండ్ రైట్ యాక్సెస్. హాట్ ఏం చెప్తుంది అని అంటే నేను ఐ విల్ గివ్ లెస్ బిల్లింగ్ ఆన్ రీడ్ అండ్ రైట్ అండ్ ఐ విల్ గివ్ మోర్ బిల్లింగ్ అంటే ద అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ data which you get storing in the hot tier, you will get charged more for that, and you will get charged less for read and write operations which you are doing. So if you have less amount of files but there are a huge amount of transfer that is needed and all that, frequently accessed and all that, then you can use a hot tier. So by default నేను ఏ blob create చేసినా కూడా the blob is converted into hot because that's what is the default one. Now coming to cool ఏంది అని అంటే it will be a medium of average of IO and average of uh, amount of data which you are storing. But still, cool will have its degree of uh, things. We prefer it based on if it's not a frequently used, but it is, I don't say that it is not used for next 6 months like that. It will be utilized and that is when we can go ahead and choose input the cool tier as a default one or the blobs to keep it in cool tier. Next is cold. What does it do? It will increase the cost for more read and write and decrease the price for the amount you are storing the data. Ante, if you are storing 1 TB of data, 1 TB of data, 1 TB of data, the billing is so huge for hot because the cost is for storing more data will be very costly compared to the other ones. The 1 TB data will be very less. But if you want to you access this, there will be you need certain time because it's going to take a lot of time because they are archived. And so only when you wanted to keep backups and all that, and you wanted to leave it somewhere, you don't access it at all. Only in critical cases and all that. That is when you can use a cold one. బట్ ఆర్కైవ్ నుంచి మళ్ళీ యాక్టివ్ స్టేట్స్ తీసుకొచ్చి అప్పుడే మనం యాక్సెస్ చేసుకోగలుగుతాం. సో ఇట్స్ అ టైం కొంచెం టైం కన్స్టెంట్ ఉంటుంది ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ యూసింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎ కోల్డ్ అండ్ యూ వాంటెడ్ టు రీడ్ ఇట్ అండ్ ఆల్ దట్. సో కూల్ అండ్ హాట్ విల్ బి ప్రిఫర్డ్. Hot will be preferred when you don't have too much of data and all that, but it is frequently used. Cool is something which you have good amount of data, but not it's not frequently used and all that. That's when you can use it cool and all. So these are about access tiers. Now, what is soft delete for blobs and containers? Soft delete for blob అంటే ఏంటి అని అంటే When you enable a soft delete option, Azure says that even if your user is deleting that one, deleting a folder or a file, unconde. Okay, that will not be, it will be deleted in terms of for your visibility point of view, but behind the scenes they will keep it for 15 retention days or something like that. అంటే రీసైకిల్ బిన్ లాగా అనమాట. So even you did it, it will not get permanently deleted. It will be stored in a recycle bin laga. It will be stored in the behind the scenes. Okay, and it will be active for 15 days. After 15 days, if you are not trying to recover it at all, and that means it is not needed. So it will they will delete. This is what it is. How long you want to retain that uh, deleted one. So again, soft delete is the word itself is saying you are deleting it not permanently, but soft delete. Or for blobs and containers, how to configure it? During the creation, you can go in and configure, or I can go ahead and configure from here also. Data management, data protection. Here it is, soft delete. So, and I enabled soft delete for blobs. How long do you want it to keep the deleted blobs? 7 days based on that. The reason is because if you don't be conscious about this, you're holding the deleted blobs for a longer time. Now you have some script or something which will delete every 100 files or 10,000 files which are not needed in a day that are getting created. So the like that for next 7 days, there will be the lot of data will be in behind the scenes, and all that data will be get charged for that usage. And in the end, what I'm trying to say is, first day there are like 10,000 blobs which got created because of some reason application. In that you wanted to delete 8,000 blobs. Now once the soft delete is enabled, these are not permanently deleted. It is there in the behind the scenes in a kind of a memory point of view, or uh, it's not deleted permanently. Second day, again there are 10,000 blobs which will get created. So you have in total again 8,000 will be removed. So you have in total 2,000 and 2,000, 4,000 is there. Along with it, these ones which are deleted, it will be there available for next 7 days in like in a recycle bin point of view. So total you have 16,000 files and 4,000. So for 20,000, you're going to get charged. Files, how much space they're occupying. If it is a third day, again 10,000 files gets created and all that, and you delete 8,000 files. But still the previous ones exist. So how long they will exist? For till the eighth day, that is when this will be released. But you will be charged for the next ones which are been accumulated. So you have to be conscious with how much you have to choose, and that organization will tell you we want to keep this many days and all that. Similarly, soft delete for containers. Similarly, you can have for files, enable permanent delete for soft deleted items. You can go ahead and delete from the recycle bin. How you can go and delete the files, you can also go and delete from the soft delete also. So that's where they're trying to talk about it. Now this is completed. Configure snapshots and soft delete for Azure files. So when you're creating the storage account, you would be able to see data protection, containers, blobs, point in time restores, and you can see enable soft delete for file shares. So they are understandable. This is not the same configuration change, nothing big on that. And I already explained how to create a snapshots for file shares. If you go inside a file share, you click on snapshot and you add a snapshot. So at that point of time, how many files are there? Those will be there in the snapshot. Now, what is blob lifecycle management and blob versioning? In tomorrow's session, we'll try to cover this. But just giving a heads up, like I am going and changing the files from hot tier to cold tier and all that, right? Advanced, if I go, I have hot, cool. So in my storage account, every day there are the blobs which are getting created. So I may not be using next 30, after 30 days, the blob files which are there. I don't want them to be deleted, but I don't want it equally to access them that frequently. So I don't want to keep them in access tier, because hot tier, because the more amount of data that is stored in the hot tier, that billing will come into place. So I will try to shift it to cool. And after 180 days, also, I don't want those files which are there created in 180 days before and all that. I'm not going to access it frequently, but I may need it at any point of time. Then I will do change it to cold. Now after 360 days, I don't want it, whatever been 1 year old, I don't want it to use at all. So I can go ahead and delete. I can go ahead and delete. Now blob lifecycle management is trying to talk about it. How do through that feature we can configure blobs to be shifting and all that. Blob versioning is like you're giving a versions. Okay, a file is there, text 01. Okay, that file is there, and if I create a versioning for it, there will be 1.2 version. Now if I update the content, it will become 1.1. In general, when you don't enable blob versioning, once you update your file, what is the previous one, it won't remember. But here, if you enable blob versioning, the changes will be versioned and all that, and that's what they're trying to talk about it. So we can talk in detail next session, but I'm just giving, we have mostly answered everything, but this is how it looks like. You may need to look at how the blobs lifecycle management, as I explained, mostly I'll try to explain that. You can find it in data management, lifecycle management. And if you just had a rule, here the rule says blobs, what should I do? Apply the rule, give a name, rule 01, and I click on next. I can say if anything was last modified, more than if it is, there is nothing been modified from the last 20 days, then shift the blob to cool. One more condition. If nothing has been modified from the last 180 days, move it to cold, or 90 days, whatever it is. If nothing has been modified from the last 360 days, delete the blob. Okay. So this is it, guys. Okay. So you guys have to, this life cycle management is there to make you understand how you can configure the rules, and you can entirely set up the life cycle for all the blobs which are getting created in the storage account. For enabling version, you can go ahead and where is this blob data protection? Here, versioning, enable versioning for blobs, and you will be able to keep a track of consistently all versions. Delete versions after 7 days. So you can delete the older versions and all that if you wanted. At this point of time, I'm not going to touch that. But this wraps up mostly on the storage account, and in tomorrow's sessions, we will be focusing on compute services, how the compute services looks like, and what all there. This is mostly on a virtual machine. ACR, app service, are the ones which have been primarily asked for. You may need to know how the container instances, container apps, container registry, these things work. AKS has not been stressed too much in the AZ104, but it is a good to know before you try to show up to interview or something. But for certification point of view, nowhere I've seen on Kubernetes they have asked questions on, but they have asked on containers and all that. Okay, so we are ending the session. Thank you, team.